Hello, welcome to the video. My name is Charles, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you a very simple system that I've been using to help me get back on track after I've come home from the States and realized that I'd gained about 3 kilos, which is 5 to 6 pounds. I had a phenomenal time and I ate so much delicious food. Shout out to my American friends. I must say that America has some of the best vegan food that I've eaten in my life. That is pretty evident with how much I ate. If you want to see some more of our trip, you can check out these videos here. Anyway, getting home, I was actually quite shocked that I'd only gained between 5 and 6 pounds because my calories predictably were higher than they are, just eating the way that I was, and then also just not being in the same kind of routine. So my goal when I got home was to create an easy system that would get my habits back to where they were, that I could put my reps in. Because when you're building habits, especially if you've come from new habits like eating tons of processed food, eating chips in the car, yes, that was me, buying donuts almost every day, then you're used to grabbing and going with those kinds of foods. You're used to a habit system that is very different than the one that is going to actually help you lose weight and do that in a sustainable way. So the first thing was I wanted my habits back on track, and I wanted it easy because habits must be easy for us to actually form them. And then the second thing was that it had to be something that would actually get me lowering my overall calories so that I could get into a calorie deficit again and lose those 5 to 6 pounds that I gained on my trip. And I'm very happy to say that this has worked because I'm actually down at a lower weight. I'm actually leaner than when I left, which I am stoked about because I enjoy being this lean and it's very easy for me to maintain. And it's been so easy for me to lose it simply by applying a very consistent system. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing, what I'm cooking, what I'm making, what I'm eating. And then at the end of the video, we'll talk about why this actually works. These are the concepts, the guiding principles. It sounds boring, but it's actually the life-changing stuff because it's why something works, not just eat like me or do this like me or eat as many calories, because everyone's unique and you have to do something that's going to work for you. So this is bridging the gap between what's working and then why it's working. So let's get into it. And one of the very first hurdles to me implementing the system was how expensive produce is in New Zealand right now. It is winter and produce is heckin' expensive. I'm eating mostly frozen veggies for that reason. So I also needed a system that was going to incorporate mostly frozen vegetables or winter vegetables like carrots, parsnips, leeks, potatoes, things that are tinned like tomatoes. Essentially, a system is just something that you do every day, mostly on autopilot. It's the habits and rituals of how you live your life. So I started to think, what are the consistent things? I've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks. And then I've got when I actually leave the house and go out. So I broke each of those down and thought, well, what do I want to do? What can I have as a consistent thing that's going to work with the fact that there's no vegetables here in New Zealand? Oh, I miss America. For the first system, let's go with breakfast. I knew that I didn't want to have tons of variety, and you don't need that because my whole goal is to put in the reps. When it comes to forming a habit, you want to do something consistently. The more you can do it and the more consistently that action is, then the more likely it becomes autopilot. So if you've got 5 different types of breakfasts that you eat, it's much harder to form a system than if you have just one and then maybe a backup one if you're really not feeling that. So I decided that I was going to make overnight oats, and if I didn't make overnight oats, then I would literally just have oatmeal. And if I really didn't want to have oatmeal, then I would bake a potato in the microwave. And this is the way that I've been really enjoying overnight oats recently. Don't actually normally measure things. I just use, I tried so hard to find a proper measuring cup, but I didn't have one, so I used that tiny cappuccino cup. But I've been liking using a little bit of kind of like an oat slash soy slash rice yogurt, and I'll use just a little bit. It gives it a little bit of sweetness. It makes it a little bit more creamy. and then I'm not putting a banana in. But if you don't want to use that, then I've got a video here which talks about other ways that I make overnight oats, and I'll either do a blueberry or a kind of a tropical oats depending on what I have in my fridge. So that's going to go, and that will be breakfast tomorrow. Done. So every night, habit system, make some overnight oats, put it in the fridge. Look at my socks. So system 2 will be some kind of consistent lunch, and I thought, why don't I make a soup every couple of days, and I'll always have some kind of soup that I can pull out for lunch, because I can make a soup super easy in my Instant Pot. I can mix it up depending on what veggies I've got available. I love leek and potato, I love pumpkin, I love tomato based soups like minestrone with pasta. So it's really just ideal, and I feel like a soup is super, why am I saying super? A soup is so easy to make. So I'm gonna make an easy soup now, and then that will be in my fridge for the next couple of days for lunches. I'm crying my eyes out from those onions, but I like the satay setting on my pressure cooker, and I'm not even going to use the pressure cooker setting. I'm literally just going to use this like a pot on my bench, and I'm obsessed with it because then I don't have to use that bench, which I've got no bench space to cook on my stovetop. So that's another tip. Okay, I'm going to attempt to explain my soup seasoning system. So I pretty much just always use salt. Good old fancy, it's Instagrammery Himalayan salt, just kidding, table salt. And I would normally will put that in while the vegetables and whatever is cooking, so that they actually get some saltiness in them. If it's a tomato based soup, I will normally put mixed Italian herbs. If it's not, I will kind of see whether that's going to work. I like some kind of veggie stock. I've got chicken stock, all vegan. I've got a chicken stock, a beef stock, and I have this kind of veggie stock. So I will definitely put some of this in. And I normally just season things to taste. This is one that has salt in it. I got this recently from the States, and it's going to be finished soon, but I really like this, and it doesn't contain salt. So if I'll put like a little bit in, and then if it needs a bit more at the end, I can put more in so it adds more flavor without adding more saltiness. And I also like things to be a bit spicy, so I also got this when we were in the south, and I love it. I'm obsessed. I'm gonna put some of this on top, and then I will put a little bit in just to add some spiciness as well. So for a tomato based soup, those are normally the seasonings that I like to use. Okay, one of my favorite things about this is how easy it is to clean up. Like, this is it. 2 meals, 2 days, boom. One thing I found with the Instant Pot is that even though it has a simmer setting, it doesn't simmer, it is boiling away. I'm okay with that. I just boil the heck out of my soup because then it's done quicker. But if you wanted to pressure cook it, you definitely could. That simmer, this is definitely not a simmer. I also try and eat legumes every day because they're so good for you, and peas fit that category, so I'm going to put them in the soup simply because it's easier than opening a can of kiddie meats, and I think it will taste really delicious. Hummus on soup, always. Let's give it a taste test, alright? Creamy. Yum. That is so delish. And I love the pasta in there. Look at that. When I serve my kids or my husband who need higher calorie meals, I get them more of the higher calorie elements. I'm like purposely scooping out more pasta, more potato. When I serve myself, I'm doing the opposite. I'm grabbing more carrots and celery, more of like the broth from the soup, which is the tomato. And that's meaning that I'm eating a lower calorie dense meal and they're eating a higher calorie dense meal. Just a simple way that you can lower the calorie density even in how you serve your food. I'm just feeling really lean. I'm feeling really good. My loose skin, like when I gain weight, I get like a bit more fat around my stomach. And then when I lose weight, I get more loose skin because I've had 2 kids and I kind of like it. So I'm getting that kind of loose skin above the belly button again. So soups, systems for the win. Yeah. So now I've got a nightly system to prep my breakfast, and if I don't do that, then I can eat porridge in the morning. And I've got a lunch that is super easy to make. It's filling, it's low in calorie density because there's lots of non-starchy vegetables in there, like tins of tomatoes, there's the celery, carrots, onions. I would also normally put things like leeks in there, but it's also going to be filling because it's got potatoes, kumara, and some pasta in there. And I mainly just put pasta because I like the texture of it. I like the texture of variety. And when you're eating a lot of soups and stews, then it's nice to have that. I put about half a packet. And I'm only going to have to make this every couple of days, but it means there'll always be soup in my fridge. Now for dinners, what I decided was I'm going to use the same system I had before I left for my trip because that was already working really well. And I did a video about how I was simplifying my cooking system. You can go and watch that next, but it's essentially taking that and just applying that to my dinners. So I'm still doing things like risotto. I'm doing pasta a lot because I love that meal. I'm still actually doing stews and soups quite often for dinner as well because they're easy. I'm doing like burrito type things, although I can't really use lettuce cups at the moment, so I'll do like a chili. I'm doing stir fry with rice, all of the things that I talked about in that video. So that's 3 meals. It's super easy. I don't have to think about that anymore. But I also wanted to create something around what I do when I leave the house because I was very inspired by all the amazing Lean with Plants women that I met who are in my program Lean with Plants, who are having phenomenal success. They are losing or have lost between 40 and 50 pounds or even more and have done that for the long haul. And one of the things I noticed was that most of them cooked microwave potatoes and that they brought them when they left the house. So I decided that I was going to start doing this because I was a microwave potato virgin before I left for my trip, simply because I just thought it would be gross. Microwaves in general are very safe. There is nothing wrong with using a microwave. There is no evidence to support that it is harmful for humans at all. It's pseudoscience to believe otherwise, or it's anecdotal. And if you are not using a microwave, then you are missing out on something that is a huge tool for your ease and also your consistency. So I'm going to make up some microwave potatoes to show you what I'm doing every single time I leave the house. This is really helping with my consistency, and I think it's one of the reasons that I have been able to lose the weight quicker than I normally would, because whenever I go out, I'm not going to buy takeout or sushi or being tempted to buy things that are higher in calories and then lead to more other high calorie choices and habits as well. Soft. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to do it for about a minute longer, and you're going to have to test it based on the potatoes that you have, so just try for 5 and then do another minute. And so I've pretty much been, just every time I leave the house, taking this bag, and I love this bag because you can also freeze it and then it becomes a chiller bag. I'm putting together like a little starter pack for just things like these kind of bags, like this kind of little pottle for putting stuff in. So if you want something like that, let me know in the comments if you find this helpful. But a couple of pieces of fruit, a little bit of hummus. I don't put this with the potato because then it's going to get warm and it won't be good. And I'm okay with this being out in the open for like an hour or two. I'm okay with it. Might not be a good idea for other people, also probably because it's winter. I'm okay with that when I go out. If it was longer than that, I wouldn't eat it. Some people were saying that you shouldn't put foil on a potato and then put it in the fridge because some kind of bacteria reacts with the foil. So I don't think it's the same if you wrap it in a paper towel and then you wrap it in foil and you're not putting it in the fridge. I just wrap it in foil so that it keeps it warm for a good couple of hours. So then if I'm going out for a little while, it will stay warm essentially. And so what I'm trying to do, like I'm literally trying to do this every time I leave the house, even if I'm just going out for like an hour or even for 10-20 minutes, because it just gets me in the habit. Because remember, like I said, it's all about that repetition. I want to get into the habit of being the kind of person who brings food with me. And how cute. And another key part of this system is that I'm not bringing processed food into my house. It doesn't mean that I'm not eating them. I'm trying to plan one kind of processed meal or more of like a treat meal every week that I look forward to. And I'll have a little bit of something normally as a dessert, like a little bit of like a bliss ball, or maybe like a couple of pieces of chocolate. Chocolate's not really a trigger for me, so I'm okay with that in the house. But I'm not bringing in ice cream. I'm not bringing in chips. I'm not bringing in the kind of foods that are my trigger foods. And environment is a big part of having a system that doesn't rely on willpower, because most of us and most of our actions are actually more molded by our environment than anything else. So if you want good actions, or you want actions that are leading you towards a weight loss goal, then have an environment that supports that goal rather than one that tries to pull you away from it. Hashtag real life. I'm going to leave all my washing there while we talk about why the system is helping me to lose weight so quickly. Number one is the simple mechanics of weight loss. That if you want to lose weight, you must be in a calorie deficit. And the kind of foods that I've been eating are helping to get me in there because they're relatively low in calories. So soups especially, I think, are a big reason that I've been losing weight quicker than I normally would, because soups have a lot of water. Water doesn't have any calories. I'm putting a lot of low calorie vegetables in there, and I'm getting full up on something that is inherently lower in calorie density. So this is a reason that people do a lot of soup type diets when they want to lose weight. One thing to be aware of is that you want to always put your potatoes, your kumara, some kind of pasta, beans in there, so that you're also going to be able to be full and have that satiety, which is going to stop you binging. Another thing that's going to be super helpful for me, or a reason that I think I've been able to lose weight quicker, is that my consistency has been better than it normally is. Since coming back to New Zealand, I am not very tempted by the mostly mediocre or comparatively mediocre restaurant and takeout options that we have in my town. So I have not been very taken with the processed food here. I'm also more consistent because I'm bringing those potatoes with me when I leave the house, and I didn't have a consistency leaving the house potato system before the trip, nor have I ever had that really in my arsenal. So I think that's also meaning that my overall calories are over the course of a week or a month are going down, because I'm not having more spikes with my calories. Another factor is that I think my appetite has been less, especially over the past week, and I'm not entirely sure why. One thing is that I've been running in the afternoons, and it's not because of why I'm losing weight quicker due to the running, because I'm actually lower in weight than I was when I was doing far more mileage with my running. But I've been drinking a lot more water when I get home in the afternoons, if I go for a run or if I go to the gym. That makes me less hungry at my dinner as well. So that could also be a reason for not having as much of an appetite. And if you don't have as much of an appetite, then you're not eating as many calories. This might catch up with me. Very likely that my appetite increases next week, and I might see the scales go up again due to more food in my system, but I'm not worried about that, because it's much more important what you eat than how much. You can actually eat a lot of food when you're using calorie density, which is lowering the amount of calories per meal or per bite of food. I'm becoming increasingly convinced of how important habits are. Habits are everything when it comes to getting into a consistent action that is going to lead to results, because results are just a latent measure of your day-to-day habits. But when it comes to gateway habits, these are things that you do that are very simple that then make other actions more likely. And these are the kind of things that we talk about in my program Lean with Plants, and that we teach members how to use, because tools like habits and systems are really what is going to bridge that gap between knowing what you need to do and then actually implementing it on a consistent enough basis to get those long-term results, which is what we all need to be focused on. Well, everything that I've done over the past month to lose this weight is the same kind of things that I've done to lose the 40 pounds and keep them off. They are foundational frameworks that anyone can apply to their unique situation and see results with. And I'm really, really excited because I just created a mini course which in 6 days shows you how to do just this. I'm really, really, really excited because I know that once you have this piece, the knowledge piece of what to do, then you can start working on the deep work and the things that really, really matter, and that's how to get consistent long term. I hope that you've enjoyed this video today, and the key takeaways to remember are that this is working for me because it's getting me into a calorie deficit, not because it's some kind of magical system. I'm using calorie density by increasing the amount of non-starchy vegetables that I'm eating and increasing my consistency, therefore lowering my overall calories. And that's why I've been able to lose the weight that I put on my holidays, which is about 6 pounds or at least 5 pounds in a month, which I'm really, really stoked with. From an implementation standpoint, I'm making this as easy as possible so that I can form the habits and it doesn't rely on willpower. The 4 key parts of forming habits are: make it easy, make it obvious, make it attractive, and make it satisfying. If you do these 4 things, you're much more likely to actually be able to get your reps in and form that habit, and that's talked about in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. And these are the kind of concepts we use a lot in Lean with Plants. If nothing else, I hope you're inspired to make your systems as easy as possible. That's it from me. Let me know what you found most helpful in the comments, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye!